Mary, welcome to the Mindful Podcast.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is really my honor to speak to you. So many fans over this part of the world. I'm always unsure as to what second name to give you. I know that Fitzgerald is the one you go by, that's your brand. But obviously, Bonnet is Romain Bonnet is the man in your life. So,
Yeah.
have you made the switch yet? Or are you happy to stick with Fitzgerald for now?
Yeah, I have made the switch. I still understand everyone knows me as Mary Fitzgerald, but I did make the switch about two year and a half ago, something like that.
Mm.
And I do. I'm going by Mary Bonnet now, but I think there's always that transition period, like Mary Fitzgerald Bonnet, whatever. But my name is Mary Bonnet.
Yeah.
Fitzgerald was my ex-husband's name, and you'll hear all about that in my book. But so I was like, I don't really need to be, tied to him anymore. Bonnie is my husband and is who makes me happy, and that's my identity now. So, but it's hard to do the switch once you're well known with one name. It's not easy.
Yeah, but even if you're not well known, I think it's something that us blokes will never really, really have an appreciation for because, all we have is our identity, our sense of self. And when you wake up in the morning and you have a different name, it may just seem like a trivial thing or a formality, but it is tied into our identity, isn't it?
It is. It is. Yeah, I think guys have it good. I mean, yeah. I don't know why all of this was put on women, but but now I think that there is a switch. Guys are taking women's names sometimes, and sometimes it's okay just to keep your own maiden name. And I would have probably done that um, if it were my maiden name, but Fitzgerald, was my previous married name, and it was a beautiful name. It's not me
Yeah, well,
anymore.
it's time for Mary 2.0. Yeah, and
That's
this is
right.
this is who you are.
Yeah.
How is Romain, your husband, and of course the new arrival? The latest arrival was Thor, the dog. How is everybody
Oh,
getting on?
Romaine is great. Thor. He's actually right here,
Ah,
right at my feet. So Romaine's great, and he is working a lot. We hopefully we'll be going on like a little summer vacation whenever we have a chance. But we're just doing stuff around the house, you know, doing some changes, making it our own, and he's supportive as ever,
yeah.
always.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll maybe get into some of that wonderful stuff that you get from that relationship. But what an exciting end to season 7. I mean, so much going on, so much in the air. You had Bree storming out. You had the usual rows and arguments going on. You had Chriselle making up with Amanza. You had one of the best lines I've heard from Bree, I think, in any TV show ever, when she said, "The last thing I'm going to do is take advice from two fake bitches." She just doesn't pull any punches.
I
Uh,
She does. I love Brie.
yeah, yeah, and you've got the new premises now, which of course Romaine had a big role in project managing, and of
Uh-huh.
course the Oppenheim Group have these fancy offices. Maybe Cassandra, the new girl, is coming in season 8, so it's all there. It's all there for us to get excited about.
Yeah, I think season 8 is going to be very interesting. I mean, just from filming it, we never get to be in all of the scenes, so we don't know exactly what is going to be in it. So some of the stuff we're like, oh wow, and we see it along with everybody else. Um, so that's always fun, or scary.
Mm.
And
It's
yeah, it's gonna be good. From what I hear, our creator Adam, he's like almost every season, he's like, "Oh, this is a good one. It might be the best one yet." And every time, I think it is. And so yeah, he said the same thing. So I think it will be very very good. I think this time it gives. I think it peels back some layers of who each of us are. There's a lot of things that really dig deeper in each one of our lives, and I think we're all very vulnerable.
Yeah. it's an interesting one when you're part of a show like that. I'm trying to relate. I've been on TV shows, nothing like the world global domination that Selling Sunset has, but when you'd record something, say like a panel show, and you think you've filled it full of comedic zingers, and then when you see the edit, you're at the mercy of the editor. You don't know how much you're actually going to feature in the TV show. Is it like that for you guys? You're thinking, "Oh my God, I am all over this thing," and then you see an episode, and you're like, "Huh? I was in that for 30 seconds."
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. There's so many times where we film probably no, sorry.
It's
we
okay.
we film we film probably 90 times more than what you actually see.
Mm,
We film so much, and then we'll film for like 8 hours a day, and it'll be reduced down to like 1 minute.
yeah. But that's the nature of it, nature of the gig, isn't it?
Yeah.
When I see you in Selling Sunset, you remind me of the UN. That you're trying so hard to keep the peace, but like the real UN, you're failing because there's there
Kind
are
of like me keeping my dog from barking.
but there are wars breaking out everywhere on the show, despite your best efforts, because I mean, it's just impossible because there's so many huge personalities. But I think what people really love about you and why they relate to you, I think, really from the heart, is that you come across as such a good person. You're trying to make everybody get along. I think, you know, you, you can almost visibly see you flinch if you're surrounded by conflict.
Yeah.
It's not your happy place where it is for some of the other
No.
people on the show. Would you feel the same way?
Yeah, I do. I hate conflict. I hate it, and I understand that sometimes it's necessary in life to confront situations and issues and people. I just don't want to. I'm like, there's a confrontation isn't. I like to mediate,
Mm.
not have confrontation. So I think there's always a different way, but some people just get like, thrive on that. It's who they are. And there's, I guess, nothing wrong with that as long as it's done in a respectful way. But it's not me. It never will be.
Yeah. Did you find it difficult moving into that managerial role the season before last and trying
Yeah.
to basically act as some kind of circus lion tamer to all these big personalities and all these rows going on?
Yes, I did. I thought when I took the job that it was going to be a real estate manager.
Mm.
And where I mean, I was very wrong. I was like um a kindergarten principal, maybe something like that, like where it's like, or like, it was just the I thought I was going to help people with their transactions
Mm.
and give them guidance and advice on how to you know, get something done if they had negotiations with their client or something, different ways to look at it, and real estate, and and it basically had nothing to do with that. It was just mediating interoffice drama, and that I don't care to be involved in. So
Well, it's a bit of a
yeah, so
waste.
I quickly stepped down, and I'm like, I'll pass on that one.
Yeah, but a valuable lesson. It's good. It's important to find out not only what makes us happy, but what makes us unhappy as well at the same
Yeah,
time.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Um, you know, I want to talk to you about determination because that's what I see, and I guess you'll be digging into that in your book as well, which is
Yeah.
coming out very, very soon.
Yeah.
Let's go back to Indiana and your upbringing. What was family life like? Because we are products of our upbringing and the people who surround us. So I'd like to get a little insight into who made Mary and what was it like growing up there.
It was amazing. I had almost a fairy tale upbringing, really. I mean, we weren't wealthy by any means, but I had. I grew up with both my mom and my dad, two sisters in the middle of like small town Indiana. I was a tomboy, ran outside all day long until, and it was back in a day where you could let your kids, and at least in that area, just go outside, and we would just ride bikes and roller skate and fly kites, and we had a lake at the end of our street, and I would go down and fish and catch tadpoles and watch them grow up, and I was total tomboy, and climb trees, stuff like that. And so it was just the typical good childhood,
Mm,
come home when the street lights come on, and it was great. My parents struggled for money at times, so I've always kind of known the value of a dollar. And but then when I got a little bit older, obviously I got pregnant when I was 15.
mm,
First boyfriend, and I was not the smartest at the time or most responsible, and so I got pregnant, and then I think that taught me a lot, a lot, because you have to grow up very, very quickly. I had no childhood at that point, so I'm very grateful that I had my actual childhood was so amazing, because that did instill the morals and the values that I think have been essential in
mm.
life. I was no one's perfect. I've made so many mistakes, and
And how did
and
your parents react when that news? I'm a parent to three teenagers, and I guess that's one of those conversations as a parent you don't want to have. It's not that you're. I guess it just knocks things out of kilter and sets new trajectories for everybody. What was that like when it happened, and how did you present the news, and how was it received?
oh, it was heartbreaking. Yeah, my parents were heartbroken.
Mm,
Like all their their dreams for their little girl basically went up in smoke, and in one sentence, me just saying, "Mom and Dad, I'm pregnant." It's like, um they just my dad just cried, and my mom was just angry and thinking, how could you do this, like. And so I think it was just out of fear for me. They weren't, looking back on it, no, anything that was said. My dad didn't say much; he just cried. And but my mom, anything that was said, it was like she just wanted more for me. And stereotypically, you you don't get more. You don't make it like very far when you're on your own at 15, 16, and a single teenage mother. Like, you just don't get the same things that you would, or have the same opportunities, because you have way more responsibility. So
mm. And you're trying to do the regular things, but as you say, you have this responsibility, and you have this other human taking up a lot of your time. Um, at what point, where was your head at? Say, when Austin, your little boy, was, say 1 or 2, and you were, leaving high school and moving on. Where was your head at? And do you think you were tapping into some of that determination to succeed at that point in your life?
absolutely, yeah. I don't know when it actually hit me. Probably, I would say, when I went to college. And so that was about a year and a half. Austin was around a year and a half old, and once I kind of got my head around, like, having a newborn, and like, just figuring out what my next step was. Everything was a day by day
Mm,
situation. Like, I could never look too far in the future, because I didn't even know. I was a child raising a child, and I didn't know what that looked like. I just knew I wasn't going to settle for this ever. Like, I mean, I'm not going to be in a trailer on welfare, like doing that, like what I would see around me. I wasn't going to allow that. I wanted more for me, for my son, and I didn't know how I was going to get it. So all I could do was just take it, whatever was in front of me, or I saw that was obtainable at that time, I would do it. And then just almost kill myself trying to get it done.
Well, this is it.
Like,
You had the car crash, which came because you were just so exhausted.
yeah, 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 fell asleep at the wheel because I was working a couple different jobs. I did my college, and so I was doing my courses, did my internship, or um, my clinical work for the hospital, and then I would have to work at night to pay for my sit for Austin's sitter and for our food and everything like that. And so I was working just nonstop. I'd go to one, come pick Austin up, take him to a different sitter, go to the other job, come back, pick him up, take him to someplace else, and I'd sleep maybe 3 hours a night, something like that. And so I fell asleep at the wheel and yeah, got hurt pretty bad.
Mm. After that, was that a reset for you going, okay, it's great to be ambitious, it's great to be determined, but, Austin needs a mom, and if I keep driving my car off the road, that could be an issue. Like, was that a big reset for you?
Unfortunately not.
You know?
I don't know if I never say I wish things were different. There are many things that I should wish I did different. And there are things that I regret in a sense because it was dumb. It was, it was, I just wasn't thinking the way that I should have been. But, or grasp like the bigger picture. But everything happens. I believe everything happens for a reason and you can learn from it and it makes you better or it makes you stronger. Um, or whatever. But I
Mm.
think things happen and no matter how bad it is, there's good to take from everything.
Yeah. Well, I always say, just in my own story, I talk about it in my book in terms of, you know, uh, it looks great on the back of a book where you go, this event happened. And from that moment on, Mary changed her life. But reality doesn't work like that. Humans are stupid, and it takes us quite a few life lessons,
Oh yeah.
quite a few kicks up the backside before we go, ah, okay, I get it, universe. I hear what you're saying. So, what kinds of things after the car crash, what kind of wrong turns were you still taking at that point, say in your early 20s and into your 30s?
Oh, I haven't always had the best choice in men, that's for sure. Um, Romain is one of a kind, and I think well, my first ex-husband, he was a good guy, a very good guy. But I mean, like anybody, we all have our own demons and battles and stuff and different personalities. Everybody has their own story and I think that he was a great guy. He just, things didn't work out and unfortunately he passed away. Um so I think the men in my life really, I could have learned about don't go for the bad boys way earlier. I should have learned on that one.
Mhm.
And
Yeah, but if you think about it, Mary,
I didn't.
but if you think about it, you're pregnant at 15, and that age from say 15 to 22 in high school, college, and you're learning all these things. You didn't get that opportunity because you had this beautiful baby at home. So it's not unusual that you would be a little bit later to the party in terms of learning these lessons and learning about emotional intelligence and the people that are right for you and the people that are not right for you. And I think as we get older we get a chance to actually have some self-compassion for that compassion for that younger version of ourselves who was just doing their best, and I guess that's what it was for you.
Yeah, that's something that I am still learning that. I think everything's always a work in progress, and I do have compassion for that girl, the younger me, and I think writing that letter to myself in my book was like I did a video trying to just read the letter, and I cry every time because it brings up so many emotions
Mm.
and it makes me uh, have compassion for myself because I mean I was doing my best, but just like you can't help but look at that girl that just struggled so much, and it feels sad, but then also happy at the same time, because I'm like, wow, look where I am now. And I'm so proud of myself for where I
Mm,
am now and what I made it through, mistakes or not, and where I am and what I can, where I'm still going to go to, and what I'm still left to achieve. And so, and it just makes me just happy and excited
mm.
that I did it.
Can you give people a sense who won't have seen that part of the book? Can you give people a sense? Because I think we can all relate to what would we say to that younger, dumber version of ourselves who was just doing their best? Can you give us a sense of what you said to your younger self?
Oh, yeah. But hopefully, um, I tear up every time I even think about it.
Oh.
Uh, yeah, just yeah, that things are good. Basically, along the lines of things are going to be okay, and don't you're like that. I'm gonna hear. I'm gonna get criticized more than I'll ever be able to fathom. I'm going to be judged more than I'm ever gonna fathom. But don't let that break you. It's going to make you stronger, and it's setting you up and getting you ready for something huge that's gonna come. And I truly believe that, because like if I had, I'm very as you can tell, I'm very sensitive. Um and I think that I had to go through that, and it broke my heart, like be getting judged by all of the parents and getting kicked out of my own church and everything like that when I was young. Everyone looking at me like I was this like the devil for getting pregnant like so young and a bad influence on their kids. And I was like, wow, okay. And it hurt me deeply, but I think that did set me up for where I am now on this platform. It's like people are mean on social media, and all they do, they try to tear you down constantly. Um, and and I think it would have broken me, and I wouldn't have been able to continue and do good and speak out and do motivational speaking and doing stuff like that, because it would have just broken me. I would have been like, I don't need this in my life, like, and I would have quit. Like I don't want any part of that negativity. And so I think that because I went through that, I'm able to look at it and be like, okay, I can remove this aspect of it from my life, but I'm not going to change the part where I can still do good and be on the show and show that you can be um, a, a woman in business and take control of your career. And I can still do the good part and not listen to the bad, because I think it would have, it's still overwhelming sometimes. But I think it would have been too much for me if I hadn't led up to that.
Mm. That's beautifully put. On the previous season, we spoke to a chap called Greg O'Shea, who was the winner of Love Island UK over this part of the world. And I referred to what he entered into going into that show because it was hard on him, particularly after it, as entering the Colosseum of Judgment.
Mhm.
Where you're standing there, you're exposed, you've got your shield and you've got your sword, and sometimes you don't know which to use. Um,
Yep.
and, that's exactly what you stepped into. I know, in the chronology of it, you move to LA. You start working with mortgages. That gives you an insight into the world of real estate. Then you hook up with Jason and Brett, and you start working for Oppenheim long before the cameras enter the building. But now suddenly you're there and you're doing your best and you're succeeding, and then these cameras come in and you find yourself in this coliseum of judgment. And
Uh-huh.
and bringing it back to this determination, that cannot be an easy environment. Online, or even they can come and gawk in the windows at you if they want.
Oh, they do. They do all the time. Yeah, but I think in person everybody's so lovely. And the excitement that everyone has about the show, and how how much they say it like motivates them and inspires them, and I think that makes it all worth it. But behind the screen, it's a different story. And I don't
Mm.
get nearly as much hate, I don't think, unless my assistant is very sweet to me and removes all the negativity. Not sure. But for the most part, I don't get that much. But the ones that are there, it's hard. It's really hard. And we're just all doing our best and trying to, entertain and live our lives and um yeah, just do us
Mm.
to be just a target for all the hate and negativity and criticism. Is just, you gotta have thick skin for sure.
Yeah. Well, as a meditation teacher, I'm
Yeah.
always very interested in the tools and techniques that people use.
Yeah.
You're lying in bed late at night, you've got all these trolls on your mind because, you might have picked up on some negativity. What are the things, whether that's meditation, mindfulness, whatever it happens to be, how do you manage to develop this thick skin? What are the things that keep you focused and present on the things that matter and that stop you from going off the rails like so many reality TV stars have over the years, sadly, from that constant judgment?
Yeah. It's hard. I think, well, I have to really think about where these people are coming from and realize they don't really know me and I don't know them. So I'm not going to do, I know how it makes me feel. And I think I kind of live my life by do unto others as you would want done to you. And so I I can be hurt and upset, and I could just go blast back and be like, really? Blah blah blah, and say something back. But I'm not going, what's that gonna do? Like, I have to remind myself that hurt people hurt people. So that's what it is. And they're probably just projecting their own insecurity, their own hurt. And that's okay. I feel bad for them. Um, and I hope they get better. And I hope that whatever it is, they heal from whatever that is that's making them want to hurt someone that they don't even know. um, and so I just have to look at it that way and decide that it's not worth it,
Mm.
and I'm not going to let them affect me. I'm not going to let them um, like change what I think about myself, and that's really what it is. I surround myself with my husband, who's very supportive, with my close friends who, you know, we all build each other up and believe in each other, and I talk to my family, who is super super supportive, and get the love and little kisses from my puppy, and yeah, the world's great.
Yeah. Um, I'm a little bit tentative moving into this space because I'm conscious that we don't know each other particularly well, and your private life is your private life. You used the word vulnerable earlier on, and I guess you were never more vulnerable than when you were talking about your pregnancy on the show, and then how unfortunately you lost the baby.
Yeah.
Um, that that's an impossible situation to deal with in quote unquote normal life, but to do it
Yeah.
on the cameras is a whole different highway to
Yeah.
navigate. How are you now? And my deepest
Yeah.
condolences.
Thank you. I'm good. I'm good now. It did take me a lot longer than I thought. It's not my first miscarriage. Um, this one hit harder. I don't know why. I think, well, I do kind of know why, because I've been through it before, and I was at a place not too long ago, a couple years ago, where I thought, I'm done with kids. I'm not going to have any more kids. I'm happy. I've got my career. I'm focusing on that. I've got my lovely dogs. I'm good. And then I realized that, I mean, I wanted a family with Romain. Like, he wanted kids, and we wanted a family together. And so I think it hit me harder because it might not be in the cards anymore. That I'd waited too long, and I put uh, it just might not happen. And I think that that's what hit me the hardest. When you want something so bad and that you didn't think you wanted, and then it's taken away, and then you kind of realize maybe maybe it's not going to happen, and you lost your chance. So
Mm.
I think it just, yeah, hit me a bit harder. So it took about 6 months, I think, for me to. I was pretty depressed actually for about 6 months, and I didn't really tell a lot of people at that time. I couldn't really talk about it too much. I was trying to go on with my, just do what was necessary, and keep work going and stuff. But I was broken. And
Yeah.
so once I started talking about it, I decided, talk about it more and start talking about, um, the depression, and about, fertility and women's health. Because I mean, and then I also found out there's a whole other issue, like with my uterus and everything, that is causing even more problems. And so I just thought it's important to start speaking up, and talking about these things, because a lot of people go through it.
As you say, a lot of people do go through it. Nobody wants to go through it. And I can't imagine how uncomfortable it has been for both of you during this whole journey. Um, yeah, and nobody goes through these things saying, "Yay, I get the chance to help people," or "I'm really growing as a human through this." It's just bloody painful.
Yeah.
But like you say, I guess if there is some good to come from it, you're so relatable. People really feel for you. All I have to say is like, "Oh, Mary's going to be in my podcast." People are like, "Oh, she's my favorite,"
Oh,
And so I think for you in particular to be able to speak about a subject like miscarriages, I think really can, and sexual health and that whole area, I think can really help a lot of people, not just in the States, but clearly around the world.
yeah, I hope so. I mean, I think that's all we can really do. I mean, if we could change something, great, but it's like you can all we can really do is just find a way to take any bad situation and turn it into good, or as good as possible,
Mm.
and so, yeah, that's the goal. If I can use it, I think it's probably helps me heal at the same time too. It'll help other people, and help myself, like, talk about it more, and heal in the process.
Yeah, I really do appreciate you talking to me about that. Did at any point did it think possibly make you feel like you wanted to leave the show and go, "Do you know what? I'm way too exposed here." Did you have second thoughts about letting the cameras back in again?
Mm, no, not because of that. No, I think that I don't. I think on that issue, that didn't make me that uncomfortable, because I already knew when I got pregnant. A good friend of mine, who I'm doing the whole women's health, venture with. I'm on, like, the board of directors for International Women's, Foundation, to help raise awareness, and raise funds for research and all kinds of stuff like that. And so he is a good friend of mine. He's on the board, Dr. Ito, and he was telling me throughout my pregnancy. I told him, and he was looking through all of my test results to make sure we had second opinion on everything. And because of my age, it's high risk. And so he wanted to make sure he was watching everything too. And so he did warn me, although I don't think I really let it sit in, like, or sink in, like, as much as I should have. That, like, 50% of all pregnancies end in miscarriage. And so when I started thinking about that, once it actually did happen, I started thinking about that. And then I was like, so this many people are going through this, and but no one talks about it. And then once I had it, I had so many friends who are like, I went through this too, and I also did this, and I started hearing people's stories firsthand that weren't talking about it normally. So that's what I think. That's when I was like, I signed up for this. I put myself out here, and when I shared that I was pregnant, I also have to share that the tragedy of it too.
Mm.
And that's, to me, that's what I signed up for. if it's something that like that I didn't sign up for, if it's just like where you're blindsided by something, you're like, oh, hang on now, you're like, that's not, and just dealing with a bunch of drama. I'm not. I'm not really okay with that. But if I signed up for something and I share my life, then well, that's what happened. So so I'm okay with that part.
So the house that you're in at the moment, this is a new house. Tell us all about this. And I guess, from anyone who's watched the show, you're thinking, okay, one of the world's most famous, estate agents, as we call them here,
Yeah.
must have super high expectations of a house. How do you settle on the home of your dreams?
Oh, I love it. I absolutely love it. I'm very simple though. I
Mm.
don't want this big monstrosity. I don't want. I wanted, and this is where it took us a while to pick something because Romaine likes more kind of modern open floor plans, and then I like more traditional, very kind of just very family kind of vibes, like very cozy.
But you gotta, yeah, with all the amazing properties you see, you gotta have some non-negotiables. Is there like the walk-in wardrobe? Does there have to be a hot tub? Does there have to be a view of the ocean? What are we looking at?
Land. I wanted a big flat yard. I wanted a traditional style, but see, some of those things we can do ourselves if it's not exactly what we wanted. And we have the big closet. It did not have a big closet whatsoever. Might have had the smallest primary closet I've ever seen. But I turned a bedroom, the next door bedroom, into a closet. So
Okay.
there you go. See, everything's fixable.
Well, that's the Indiana girl coming out there going, land. I want
Yeah.
land and flat land. None of this
Uh-huh.
Los Angeles slopey rocky nonsense you can't do anything with except build a Japanese garden in it or something.
Right? And then my neighborhood is like white picket fences, and it just reminds me of because we're in this scene all the time, like where it's like all the glitz and glamour and everything's so fast paced. I wanted just like a very Midwest kind of vibe, like that's very feels like home to me.
Yeah. Well, it's important. It's one of those things that keeps you grounded amongst all
Yeah.
the swirling craziness around around the show.
Yeah.
Um, I just want to ask you some possibly dumb questions about the show, but those kinds of things that pop into your head when you're watching it. What I always think when I watch the show is how incredibly glamorous everybody looks just turning up for work on a Monday morning. How do you possibly even dress up for something because you look like you're on red carpets when you're just going to work with a hangover? Like,
Uh,
how do you manage that? Do you get a big clothes allowance that you can buy your own stuff or?
no, we don't. I wish we did. Maybe if you can put in a good word with Netflix, I'd be grateful.
I'm disgusted. You got to buy your own clothes. Um,
Uh-huh.
in terms of the commission came up as one of those interesting topics on the last season. Bree had a big issue with it, and I guess it was one of the first times it was really addressed on the series. And she was not happy coming from an outside organization saying, "What? Jason and Brett are taking way more commission." How can you explain to people how it works? Because I guess it's a peek behind that curtain.
Uh-huh. I don't think Brie was the first one to bring it up ever because Chriselle and I, if you guys go back and watch, we will not let Jason, like we give Jason so much crap about it,
Yeah.
and we every single time we're like, oh, about the commission, like we're always saying something about getting a higher commission constantly, and I think that's the only fight, real fight Jason and I have ever been in is about commission.
Yeah, because he
So
doesn't he'll talk about it all day long, but he's not gonna change his mind.
oh no, he is stubborn. He will
Yeah.
he will not change, and we know that, but we're never gonna stop trying.
Yeah. How do you stop the tire kickers just dragging you around from property to property going, "Oh, yeah, I think I'll buy it. I've got millions," but they just wanna hang out with you or some of your colleagues. Like, does that happen where people are just wasting time because they just wanna be in your aura?
Yeah, it does. I we have to do a lot of vetting before we will even meet with anybody. Now we have to look them up, make sure not only can they afford to buy it, but they're not psycho. Because there's a lot of people that reach out, and we have to take our safety very, very seriously,
Mm.
because we're going alone with somebody into a house that's empty, or just getting someone in our car, like, or to take them someplace that's, you're like, you don't know who this person is. And for most people, like before, wasn't a big deal, but now we're targets, and so we have to be very, very careful. Make sure that the people are who they say they are. That we're not alone hardly ever. Like even doing an open house, that we're not there alone, because again, we're saying where we're going to be from this time to this time alone. Like it's like, so you have to be very, very careful. Most of the time we'll have like somebody with us. We'll have at least an assistant, our husband, boyfriend, security, whatever the case is, if we're going to be doing something like that. And then we have to get proof of funds, before we ever even, most of the time before we even send them properties, to
Mm.
look at, because that's our time is worth money. I mean, our time is valuable. And so even before we start doing the property searches and start sending them potential properties to look at, we have to make sure that, or can they even look at these homes? Can they buy them? So that we're not wasting time. And sometimes it's very apparent where you think, oh no, it's great, and then you cannot get proof of funds from them. Like if your life depended on it, they're just like, they beat around the bush and make up stories about, oh yeah, this is why I can't get it right now, but just here, let's go look, and then I my assistant will send it next week or something, and we're like, nope, not happening. Uh,
Yeah, well,
yeah.
that's I guess it's the it's just one of the downsides, I guess, isn't it, of the popularity of the show and of yourselves. And plus, if there's any weirdos knocking around, Romain looks like he's about 6'3" or 6'4". I'd say
Yes.
he could just drop kick them off the balcony. Everything will be
Oh, that's his thing too. He was like, let me at him. Let me at him. Like he's like, he does not, he does not care. He's not intimidated by anything. I'm like, I okay, babe. Like, cause when if he's away for work, he's like, yeah, let the person try it, whatever. I'm like, you're out of town. I was like, it's just me.
yeah,
I was like, I
yeah.
can't do what you can do.
Yes, you can't beat them up over Zoom, Romain. You know, you
Exactly.
will have to you will have to be here. But
I know.
I guess you would need somebody very grounded, not the jealous type, that's for sure. And he seems to be it.
Oh, he is. I mean, that man is not insecure at all. He is very confident, very, very secure in who he is, and trusting of me. And so I'm very grateful for that.
Mm.
It would have been, it would be very, very difficult, in this business, and with my life and unique friendships with everybody, with my exes, to
Yeah.
if you weren't so understanding and secure.
Yeah. I want people to be really excited about the book. You know, what, I love this conversation is so lovely because I think we're getting to see a side of you that maybe we'll see more of in the book. Um, what parts of it were difficult for you and what parts were actually cathartic for you to put down?
Oh. Well, without giving too much away,
Mm,
there were some parts in there that I don't, only my very closest friends. I think well, my husband, Jason, Amanza, a couple of the girls might know, but they don't know anything in detail.
mm,
But there's been a couple things that have happened in my life that I share in the book, and it was something I've never, I blocked out. I just for self-preservation, I had to block it out. I had to put a wall up and not think about it because it was very traumatic, and to go back and revisit it, and go back to what I felt and what I did, and go back to like that moment again. It was hard, and I had to talk to my therapist about it, and to um try to make sure that that wasn't going to put me in a bad place mentally. Um, by sharing it, I think it will help, but it also, I didn't want it to also like take me back to that, like, to that time, and where I would. it could be a very negative thing. So
Mm.
so that was very, very difficult. And then it was also hard to decide what I was going to share and what I wasn't, because there's so much in that happens in our lives, especially my life. I feel like I've had like I'm like a cat. Like I've got like nine lives, and I just keep going. Like, and because I feel like I only. I shared a big portion of stuff, but I ultimately came down to it like if something happened, it was very I was involved in it. It was very a moment in my life. However, by me telling it, it would embarrass or harm somebody that they did not want this story told. That's in my family or a close friend of mine. Then I'm not going to share it because I'm not going to hurt somebody else just to sell a book. And so, and then also changing names. I think in the book, even though I'm telling my story, I changed the names of the people involved in many situations because, again, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm just telling what happened.
Mm. You must be very unique in that world, and again, it's why people really warm to you. You know, the fact that you're like, "I don't wanna write a book if it hurts people," like, that's not usually what you hear in Los Angeles. Goes, "These people are going down." You know? "The following
It's
people
not the
ruined
way
my
I work.
life," you know? Yeah, um, and that determination you have and the striving you have for success and to realize your goals and to to take on new challenges and to overcome difficult situations in your life, it's never at the expense of other people, and you can see that that comes through in the show. And again, in that kind of a show, that stuff could get lost, but it doesn't with you. um, where would you like to go? Do you have any goals that you think, "Do you know what? I think I really would love to take over that business or start my own," or maybe it's just want to own a ranch somewhere. What what is it that you're kind of moving towards, or is it just day by day right now?
I've always got a lot of things, goals and things in the pipeline. I think the more I try things, the more I see that I like them. I think actually doing a podcast or doing a talk show kind of thing where I can like use like different um doing kind of use these tools and different moments in my life to reach out to others and get more positivity out there, get more get be able to talk about issues more to try to help women feel like it's okay, or men too, like I mean just where it can be. I think talking about things is cathartic, and I am seeing a change in people that are opening up. They're like almost in many ways praised for it instead of shunned, and I love that trend. Of course, when I see it, I'm also not on their Instagram looking at all like the hate that happens, but I want to use this and keep doing motivational speaking and talk and get the word out there and try to help end social media bullying, because that one I hate that the youth right now, those poor kids, like they are just that's what they think is normal, is just like attacking each other constantly. It's like there's so many things I want to get involved in. I'm always passionate. It's sex trafficking. That's one. I have a someone close to me that was affected by this, and so I'm a part of Unitas, which is a big organization, and they actually personally helped this person. And so I'm going to start speaking up on that because it comes in many different forms. And um, yeah, I'm gonna be involved in that as well as like with the women's health. I'm probably not going to sleep much, but I want
Yeah, I
to
was gonna
get
say,
it.
it sounds like we're back to 3 hours a night here with all these
Uh-huh.
amazing plans. We haven't at this point in time of this interview been told when season 8 is coming out. I know that all the filming has wrapped and they're, putting a nice little neat bow on it and making sure it's ready to be delivered. Um, you know, People like me ask, "Can you tell us anything about the next season?" But you're sworn to secrecy.
I am. I can only say that it's going to be very good. It's full of as will be expected. It's full of drama. Also, but also I think it's full of Um, it really catches us very, very vulnerable. I think Jason and I lost our dog on this season. I mean, because we just lost our dog, and so I think it kind of shows. I mean, we didn't really hold back at all, and they caught all the very raw, real moments of that. I think there's a lot of things on here that I think we're just kind of going with it now. I think all of us are like, it's a different relationship. I actually do have conflict with somebody this season, but not. I think it'll be interesting for people to watch. Like, I'll be interested to watch how it's edited too. But I think that everyone's going to look at it and still see, even with the conflict, like I don't change, like,
Yeah.
really.
What's it like?
And
We don't usually, as humans, get a chance to see ourselves recorded in conflict. Those moments tend to happen, probably not your best self at the gas station. Go, look, just give me,
right?
let me, you know, the pump isn't working, or get out of my way, or just why are you taking so long? We
Yeah.
that doesn't tend to be filmed. We tend to film ourselves when we're happy and hey guys, best life and all
Right.
that. What's it like
Yeah.
to see yourself in conflict or in an argument? You're like, oh my God, that's my angry face.
Yeah.
What's that like?
It's not always fun. Where you're like, oh my god, like, what did it, oh no, you're like, what did I do? But I try. I don't know. I try to just, I always be mindful of what I'm saying. So hopefully when I look at it, I'm not embarrassing my parents or my clients or anything like that, and not say something where it's like, ew, I'm that person. Like, I try to be mindful, but when you watch yourself, though, it is not pretty to watch, and I cringe. I'm so expressive, and I didn't know I was that expressive until I started watching. I'm like, do I always make these faces? And everyone's like, yeah, I mean, that's you. And I'm like, ew, why would you hang out with me? You look at that all the time? I'm like, it's terrible. And I was like, why am I making all these like crazy, crazy expressions? So I actually went, and once I realized that, I'm like, okay, I need a lot of Botox. I need you to like freeze my face so that I can't make these crazy faces anymore. And of course, like, they're like, no, that's what makes you you. And I'm like, but I don't know. You have to get used to it, I guess, and just be like, yeah, oops, that was me.
Yeah, I don't know how you
You
do it. I just don't know how you do it. But I think you do it beautifully.
gotta laugh at yourself. That's what you gotta
Absolutely, yeah. We got to
do.
take things less seriously, and
Yeah.
that's what this podcast is all about. It's about
Yeah.
real transformation without being too serious. That's what it's all about. You mentioned the word mindful. Finally, there. This is the Mindful podcast. I try to help people to uh, give them things to use when their minds feel full, and a lot of us feel like that crazy busy all the time and tired. Finally, what is your ideal scenario? If your mind is feeling full, what do you want to do? Who are you with? What's your healing potion in those circumstances?
Ooh, God, it depends on what it's full with. But what do I do? I do. I like doing art, I'm taking up pottery. I'm not good at it
Nice.
yet, but I'm getting there. I'm starting. But so I take that up. I really like doing crafty kind of stuff. I've done like all the artwork in my house, and then I think it's very cathartic. Like, it's just like, it's therapy to me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and
I could see this
and then
as one of the killer scenes for, I don't know, maybe season 9 when reenacting Ghost, where you're
yeah,
making your you're
well,
making your piece of pottery. Romaine is behind you. This could
oh
be this could be the
yeah.
new clip that will go viral.
Oh, I hope so. 'Cause that's actually what, since I was a little girl, I've always wanted to try it after watching that movie. And then finally I was like, you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. And so I went ahead and I got a wheel. And but that was what always made me want to try it, like I
Yeah.
said, for years and years and years. So
Yeah, I love it. And no matter how bad the thing is you make in pottery, you can just call it an ashtray. Everything's an ashtray. uh,
I know.
Mary, I'm so grateful to you for your time, your energy and your warmth. I can't wait for people to read Selling Sunshine. I can't wait for people to see season 8 of Selling Sunset. It's a real pleasure, and I think everybody is even more warm to you now after our conversation. And I'm very grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a great day.
Okay, bye.